everyone, and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to share with you week 1 of my journey in the artist's way. This is a 12-week course that I started on June the 1st. I've wanted to do this course for a very long time. Initially, I was going to wait until after the pandemic because I wanted to spend my artist dates outside at cafes or at the art gallery or maybe sitting in a park. But I thought to myself, I've just launched my website, I have a bit of spare time right now, and I really don't want to delay the course any further. Since I won't be doing any of the other artist dates that I had envisioned for myself, what can I do to make this course a little bit more special for me in this time that I'll be taking it? The answer was to combine it with something else that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and that is to experiment with bullet journaling. So I have gone ahead and combined the Artist's Way program with bullet journaling, and after 1 week of doing this, I can say that it was absolutely the right decision. Of course, it's a lot of work. The Artist's Way course by itself is a lot of work, but combined with bullet journaling, it just adds another layer of time commitment that I'm putting into this, but I am so pleased with the results. I was initially planning to complete the entire 12-week program before doing a flip through of the bullet journal, but as I was vlogging and sharing bits and pieces of my bullet journal, I realized that I had so much to say about all of the different exercises that an entire flip through in one shot would probably take a really long time because I would keep getting sidetracked and derailed because I want to talk about all of the different exercises. So I'm still going to do a flip through at the end of the entire 12-week program, but I thought I would also do these weekly update videos, weekly walkthrough videos, if you will, of the Artist's Way program and how I've laid it out in my bullet journal. Today's video is going to cover the setup portion, so the initial trackers and things of that nature that I used in the bullet journal to set up the Artist's Way program for the 12-week period, as well as week 1. I've decided to integrate a lot of bullet journal type ideas into this practice, and if you're familiar with bullet journaling, you'll see a lot of that as I flip through the book. The other thing, of course, is that the content is completely 100% based on the Artist's Way. So if you're familiar with the Artist's Way program, you might find it interesting to see how I've laid out certain things in my bullet journal. But of course, this was my interpretation of the Artist's Way program. And if you were to do this course with or without the bullet journal, you may or may not approach the exercises and activities the same way that I did, but that is totally okay. There are innumerable ways to do the Artist's Way course, and every interpretation is, in my mind, the right interpretation. So this is my interpretation. I hope you'll get something out of it. To start off with, here is the bullet journal I've been using. It's the Leuchtturm 1917 A5 dotted notebook. If you're into bullet journaling, you're probably very familiar with this notebook. It is very popular. Haven't done anything to these pages here, nor these pages here, and you'll probably see eraser bits all over this book because I pencil everything in before going over it with pen. So here is the index. I am going to be using the index. I filled it out to here already. I love that these pages are already numbered. It just comes in so handy. Here is the first page that I've actually filled out in pen. This is just a title page that I put together using a font that I found online. I'm going to be using this font throughout the notebook. I just love the Art Deco style and it's very easy to draw as well. I'm not a wonderful visual artist. I don't have a lot of experience with it, so anything that's visual needs to be very simple and straightforward so I can do it and not spend a whole lot of time. For now, I'm happy with the way this looks. I don't know if I'm going to decorate it any further. This is a page that I'm holding for grid spacing. I like to know where the halfway mark is, both horizontally and vertically. I've penciled in some stuff here, but I don't think I'm really going to need it, so I may just end up numbering the boxes and leave it at that. Because I'm new to bullet journaling, I'm going to do this for a few more weeks and then reassess if I want to add any like grid spacing cheat notes here. This is a 1 year at a glance calendar. I find these types of calendars very handy, so I knew I wanted to experiment with one in my bullet journal, even though this is just a 12-week journey. So what I've done is I've done the entire 2020 year, but I've gone ahead and highlighted the 12 weeks that I'll be doing the program. So again, I started on June 1st, and the program is going to take me all the way to August 23rd. That's going to be my last day. Here we have a spread that includes a quote from the Artist's Way book. If you've gone through the Artist's Way book, there are a lot of various quotes in the margins. So I've just pulled one from the introduction type section that lays out what you can expect from this course and how to use the book and that sort of thing. Below that, I've put in the key. This is something that is very much a big part of bullet journaling, but my key is very simple. All I have is task, task completed, task skipped, idea, and idea completed. You can probably tell by now that I decided to use a cloud theme for this first introduction part. I love the sky and clouds. That's a big theme in my personal brand, so I thought I would carry that through into this first portion of the bullet journal. The bonus is that clouds are super easy to draw. This is essentially a snapshot of what this course is all about. The Artist's Way has 12 chapters with exercises, each chapter of course representing a week in the 12-week program. Each chapter is called Recovering a Sense of ... with the ... being the item that we're focusing on each week. So for example, in week 1, the chapter is called Recovering a Sense of Safety. Week 2 is Recovering a Sense of Identity, and so on and so forth. So that's how I've laid out this page here, just as a general snapshot of what the program looks like over the 12 weeks. I've already completed week 1, so I've gone ahead and added some color to this cloud, and I'll color in these clouds as I complete them each week. The basic principles come into play very often in week 2, which is why I have this page marker here. These are from the Artist's Way, and I've just jotted them down on this page here, and I did make a mistake here and leave more spaces than I should have. It does bother me, but not that much. I'm trying to let things go. And this is the contract that the book asks you to fill in with your name, sign and date it. So I've gone ahead and done that. I did that on May 29th, 2020 as I was setting up this book and as I was getting ready for the June 1st start date. Now this page has a mix of my own 2020 theme, which is believe in yourself, and as well my goals for the Artist's Way over the 12-week period. So of course I want to read a chapter of the Artist's Way each week. I want to complete my morning pages practice every single day, and I have a video on how I do my morning pages, which I will link down below. I want to go on an artist date every week for approximately 2 hours per date. This is one of the cornerstones of the Artist's Way program, along with morning pages. My fourth goal in the 12-week program is to complete at least 50% of the weekly tasks. Julia Cameron, the author of the Artist's Way, indicates in the book that there are a lot of exercises that are assigned each week, and in all likelihood, you'll probably only be able to complete a portion of them, and she says to aim for half of them. So I'm taking that to heart, and I'm not going to try to be an overachiever and do them all. Instead, I'm going to try to do at least 50% of them. And my fifth goal during the 12-week program is to maintain my usual level of self-care. On this page, I have an excerpt from the Artist's Way. These were points in the introduction that really spoke to me, and I wanted to jot them down and have them documented in this journal so I could look back on the things that really resonated with me. Here we have something that is purely bullet journal related. I've got some theme ideas for upcoming weeks in the bullet journal because I'm going to be changing the theme in my bullet journal every single week. So for the initial intro, it's clouds. For week 1, it's going to be something different. For week 2, it's going to be something else. So these are the theme ideas I had, and I'm going to check them off as I do them. Of course, I don't have to do all of them. This is a little play page that I did for my clouds theme, just playing with the colors that I wanted to use, the different types of pens, the style of clouds. This is a great way to see what colors work together. If some colors are a little bit too close, I'll eliminate them. It's also a great way to track what colors you used where. This is my mood tracker. I thought it would be fun to track my mood for the entire 12-week course. So that means there are 84 days. What I've tried to do is cluster each week into a section so I can generally see my mood for the week. As you can see, in week 1, I was in pretty good spirits for the most part. I had a few neutral days, which are indicated by this color cloud here, which is teal. teal, and if you refer back to my clouds theme page, you can see that I've named teal as one of the cloud colors. Neutral for me is a-okay. I expect I'm gonna have a lot of neutral days during the 12-week period. In my first week, I had 3 of these neutral days. I also had 3 days where I was moderately happy here, and 1 day where I was big smile, quite happy. We've got some trackers on this page. This is my morning pages tracker, and ideally this entire grid will be filled out at the end. I don't see that there will be any issues with this because I've been doing morning pages for almost 6 months every single day now, and I haven't missed a day. The colors here don't mean anything. I just wanted a pretty checkerboard pattern at the end. And then I've got some notes on what morning pages are defined as. So I have 3 pages of longhand journaling, stream of consciousness, non-negotiable practice of sending. And then below that, I've got my artist date tracker. So this is once a week. In the first week, I had my artist date on Tuesday. The clouds I have under the artist date tracker are quality time by yourself, 2 hours of creative play, and weekly practice of receiving. Then I've got some artist date ideas on this side here. When I was watching videos on bullet journaling, I really loved the idea of including photos as a little scrapbook component. I've already taken 2 photos, one for each week of the 12-week program. And I've decided I want photos of the CN Tower every single week. I wasn't too sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I've always wanted to do a photo project of the CN Tower. I love blue skies. I love Toronto, the city in which I live. This really doesn't have much to do with the Artist Way program, but it's a way that I'm using my creativity. So in a way, it does fit into the book, and I've allocated these pages for the 12 photos. That was the entire setup portion. Let's move on to week 1, which, as you can see by the spread, is a hot air balloon theme. My art skills are very basic, so initially I was a little bit terrified about the hot air balloon theme because I thought it would be too advanced for my drawing skills, but I found a way to draw these very simple and straightforward hot air balloons. You get the idea, they're not overly complicated. I can do them very quickly. I really love the color and the way it looks. It also kind of ties in to the safety component. I have a quote on this side that is taken from The Artist's Way, the chapter on week 1. I did a little overview of week 1. On this side here, I put in the key concepts from the chapter, definitions of things like shadow artists, concepts like protecting the artist child within, core negative beliefs. I've got the sentence here about your censor loads anything that sounds like real self-worth, a description of affirmations and blurts, which was a huge component of week 1, and also this concept of time travel, which ended up being an exercise that was embedded in the chapter that I wanted to call out. On this side here, I have all of the tasks for week 1, and as you can see by my bullets, I did all of them except for this one here. So I actually went above and beyond my goal of 50%. I found the exercises so interesting, and they weren't that time consuming since I was working on the bullet journal pretty much every night anyway. A little something about the hot air balloon tops at the top. I did something here that I really didn't love, so I tried to think of a way to cover that up, which is why you have these kind of like half circle cutouts. I drew on these stripes using a mild liner. I do like the way it turned out, but that's why this looks different from the rest of the hot air balloons that you'll see for the most part. Here we have where I mapped out the hot air balloon theme. So this is a legend of what colors I wanted to put together for the hot air balloons. This is where I tested out having a creative affirmation in the center of the hot air balloon. This is the one exercise that I wanted to call out that was in the body of the chapter and not necessarily on the task page. So these are my major influences in 5-year increments. So from 0 to 5 all the way to my current age, which is in the bucket of 40 to 45. It worked out well in terms of the spacing, but if it had been something else, I would have just divided the page differently. What I was supposed to do in this exercise was to name the most influential people in my life in each of the 5-year increments. I didn't really love the idea though of keeping a page full of names. What I did instead was I pulled each of the big life events or each of the most significant memories from each of the 5-year periods, and in my own mind I would associate these things to certain people. The highlighted words are my theme for the 5 years. So perhaps we can take ages 30 to 35 as an example. My theme for this age range was really indulgence. That was when I was working in consulting. I had my wedding in this time period. I went to Asia for the first time with my husband. I had been to Hong Kong before, but always with family and as a child. This was when I started a photography business on the side. I started an Etsy shop. This is when hubby and I got our pets. I started my YouTube channel during this time, and I also became mortgage free during this time. When I think back on my job in consulting, definite names pop up, memories of certain people and who influenced me when I was in that role, as well, of course, for the wedding. I've got a series of influences from the wedding that definitely come to mind as soon as I think about my wedding, and so on and so forth. I feel like this is a really effective way of getting to the heart of your influences. I already talked about affirmations and blurts being a central part of week 1. This is how I worked with my creative affirmations. The Artist Way asks you to work with a creative affirmation at the end of every morning pages session. So that's every day for a week. So what I decided to do was do 7 hot air balloons, and these would be the 7 affirmations, creative affirmations, that I worked with each day after my morning pages. After day 1 of my morning pages session, I worked with the affirmation, I believe in my ability to create meaningful work. This is an affirmation that I made up myself. There are a bunch of suggestions in the Artist Way, but I find that making up your own resonates a little bit better. I did use the examples in the book as a jumping off point, but I wanted to craft my own, using my own language and really get to the heart of what affirmations I personally need. So week 1 was that, and then week 2 was I give myself permission to trust my creative intuition, and so on and so forth. I would fill these out as the week progressed. So every night I would do one based on what affirmation I worked with during my morning pages session. So this page didn't get filled out until the end, which is why the coloring is a little bit off. I started pressing harder with these balloons. I was really light-handed with these ones, but overall I'm really happy with the way this turned out. The affirmations ring very true to me. I'm so glad I'll be able to reference these going forward when I need a bit of a boost to counteract my negative self-talk, which happens quite often. This is essentially each day's exercise in a more broken down manner. Titled this whole section Blurts Becoming Affirmations, and this was my day 1 work after my morning pages. So here's that same balloon as we saw on the summary page with the same affirmation, I believe in my ability to create meaningful work. What the Artist Way asks you to do is to write that 10 times. And as you're writing that, blurts will come up. Blurts are essentially negative self-talk. So as I was writing this affirmation, my inner critic started saying things like, no one cares what you have to say. Your work is trivial. Your work is trite and meaningless. Your work is fluffy and unimportant, so on and so forth. So many blurts came out the first day. It was really intense. All of this negative self-talk just came to head when I repeated this affirmation, writing it after my morning pages. So I did that 10 times, and these are all the blurts that came out. What the book asks you to do then is to turn each of these blurts into affirmations. So that's what I've done on this page here. And I've color coded the balloons. So all 4 of these blurts here that are indicated with this aqua green color, these all fell into the same type of category. So I've turned these 4 blurts into this affirmation here. So that's where the color coding comes in. Aqua green lines to the aqua green balloon. The affirmation that I came up with here is, my work has meaning to myself and others. Very simple. It doesn't have any scale to it. Maybe my work has meaning to myself and a couple of other people, and that is perfectly fine. That's what I did on this page here. I wrote out all of my blurts and then the affirmations that I turned the blurts into. Day 1 was a really intense day, lots of blurts, but as I kept doing this exercise, the blurts started slowing down. So here's my affirmation for day 2, the blurts that came out, and the affirmations that I created out of the blurts that came out. Similarly, on day 3, here's my affirmation that I worked with. I add value by sharing my creative voice. The blurts that came out were all in the same category this time, all indicated by this magenta color. And I came up with 2 affirmations that counteract all of these blurts that came out when I wrote this over and over again 10 times. So that was day 3. Day 4, same thing here. Day 5 is shown over here. So as you can see, the blurts are slowing down a bit, and they're generally in one category. So then I have these affirmations in the balloons that are supposed to counteract them. Day 6 and day 7, this is the last day we were asked to do this exercise, and I feel like this was a very cathartic and very useful exercise, especially laid out in this manner, because I can look back at all of these different affirmations that I have now in these balloons, and they counteract all of the blurts that came out during the week. So I can stop my negative self-talk and say to myself, you know, I am willing to fully experience my creative energy through work and play without judgment. That's a long one, but you get the idea. This here is another exercise that I did. It's called the My Creative Self-Worth exercise. And if you look back at the task page for week 1, this 2-page spread actually covers 4 different tasks on the task page. So I was able to combine all of these tasks into this spread here. And of course you can do this however you like. This was just my interpretation. So what I had here was a balloon that represents my creative self-worth. The book asks you to come up with 3 champions of your creative self-worth and 3 enemies of your creative self-worth. The book asks you to name people. I do have people in my mind, specific people, but I didn't want to put names in the book. So this was my representation. I've got 3 people here, specific people that I view as my enemies of my creative self-worth. I've got this person here who basically criticized me and asked me to conform. I've got this person here who sneered and mocked pretty much everything I shared with this person in terms of creativity. And I've got this person here who is myself. And I feel like I am my own biggest enemy in my creative self-worth, because when I look back at all of the blurts, a lot of them I can't trace back to one particular person. They just come from my inner critic. Instead of drawing a big red X through them, as the book suggests to do, I just did this symbolic "you're banned from my life" type sign in the background. And these 3 people here are specific people in my life who are champions of my creative self-worth. And this person gives me tons of love. This person gives me lots of ideas and supports all of my ideas. And this person just treats me like I'm someone special, I'm someone worthy. This person is extremely supportive. And here I am in the hot air balloon expressing my love for them. So that's a visualization of this exercise. But this exercise was very eye-opening because I did see that I'm really the one stopping myself. On this side, I've got a story of rejection. I wrote this kind of like a poem of one incident with one of my enemies, not myself. And then this is a really sweet email that I got from my friend on the day I launched my website. We're almost to the end. This was a very long video. This is the last exercise that I worked on besides the weekly check-in. This is the 5 other lives exercise, or my imaginary lives exercise. This basically says if you weren't doing what you were doing now and you had 5 other lives to lead, what would you be doing in each of those lives? It says not to think about it too hard, just write down the first things that come to your mind. So I put down tea sommelier, meditation writer, creative explorer, recipe developer, and self-development advocate. And I'm kind of doing all of these things right now in bits and pieces. So I have to say that I feel like the life I'm living now is very close to what I would want in my other lives, maybe just a little more focused, and I'm hoping this program is going to help me get there. And then finally, the last page that I'm going to share with you today is the week 1 check-in, and the Artist Way program involves a weekly check-in after you complete all of the exercises and such for the week. So my week, I forgot to mention, runs Monday to Sunday. So I did this weekly check-in on the Sunday before week 2 started. I basically talked about how my morning pages went, what my artist date was like, and I should mention for my artist date in week 1, I did a bunch of fun things that I had on my list. I rotated my closet because we're getting into hotter weather. I wanted my warm weather clothing a little bit more accessible. I also put together a June capsule wardrobe, which was a ton of fun to do. I've been wanting to get back to dressing with a capsule wardrobe, even though I don't really go out much because of the pandemic. But I thought it would be fun just to play with clothes for a little bit for my artist date. So I picked out a 10-piece capsule wardrobe, which with hindsight was a little bit too restrictive, so I've added 1 piece and I'm at 11 right now. And I filmed a little video for TikTok. It's a private video because I was just playing around. That was actually a lot of fun and also very time consuming. I talked about my reflections here on the affirmations and blurts exercise, the 5-year increments exercise, the My Creative Self-Worth exercise, and my overall thoughts for week 1. That is going to be it for week 1 of the Artist Way in my bullet journal. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've done the Artist Way program before, I'd love to hear about your experience, or if you're into bullet journaling, I'd love to hear about your experience with that. I will try to keep up with these videos, doing them once a week. I'd love to see you here at the next one. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll be back very soon with another one. Until then, please take care, and bye for now.